Got it. That
Nick,
was me
is
signing
there
my consent form.
your consent form to record? Didn't we
Yes.
decide it's not a consent? It's just an acknowledgement? Because it
Yeah,
doesn't do anything.
the beginning of last week's episode. Also, can you hear me well? Because the fan on my
Yeah, I can't. I love how you're asking now after we were starting recording, even though we've been talking for about 15 minutes.
It started really ramping up a second ago, so I just wanted to make sure.
I can hear you well, loud and clear.
Really hot. Okay, welcome to Point of View, everyone. Welcome to episode 12. Justin, how are you?
I'm good. Nick, is there like a material item that you lose? Like, I know some people lose their wallet, their keys, and their phones, not like for good, but like misplaced, and you kind of have to like retrace your steps and figure out where it is, and like before you go. Or is there something
misplaced often? Because to answer
really?
your question, my AirPods, my wallet, my cell phone, my chargers. In fact, I had to drive back to work last night to get my charger. Yeah.
The reason
what about
bring
you?
that up,
Is there something you lose?
Yes. Well, the reason I bring that up is because I wouldn't say I'm notorious, because really it's only my family who knows that I constantly lose this, but I give my mom a lot of crap for misplacing her phone all the time, because she's always like, like shuffling things around and looking. It's funny because she's such an organized person, but she always misplaces her phone. And so whenever she just looks lost in the house, we're just like, "Do you lose your phone?" Like, shut up. He goes, "Shut up." But in the last year, I think I've lost, like, for good. Like, I've misplaced them multiple times, but headphones, like wired headphones, like I have a wireless set of headphones, and yes, I like them, but like for this, like I like having a wired headphone that I can plug into my computer and put into my ear, and my phone has a headphone jack and stuff, and so sometimes I like using that for phone calls. But I've probably gone through 5 pairs of headphones. I just lose them all the time. Sometimes they're in my pocket, or actually most of the time they're in my pants pocket, and then I'll like throw my pants in the laundry, and then after they've been washed and dried, I pull my headphones out, and it's like, have they survived the wash? And sometimes they have, sometimes they haven't. But I've bought like 5 pairs of headphones. It's been so frustrating. And now that I do a podcast, it's even more frustrating, because that is the one time during the week where I like want to have them. And so I don't know. I have this backup Apple pair, so you'll be happy that I'm like this old Apple pair that I'm wearing, that I'm using right now. But it has like a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, not even like what's it called? The Lightning. Is that what the new headphones now, if you use a wired one, have like the Lightning port, right?
Port, yes. Which is annoying because it's the same port that you charge your phone, so you can't charge and use the Lightning unless you have a 12 or 13 and have the
the magnetic one.
Yeah. Or you can, do wireless charging on the earlier versions, but it's still annoying to have to leave your phone on the ground.
Right.
Or on a flat surface.
These headphones probably went to like the first generation brick iPod that had like the little circle, that you just shuffle to like go through your music library. You have to like put your finger clockwise to try and go through.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Speaking of that, did you play the game? I think there were like 3 games on the original iPod, and it was called Brick, and it was like the classic game that you move the bottom thing
Brick
and you
Breaker.
Yes, but there was one that came with the iPhone or the iPods, and it used to frustrate me because each time you won a level, it would add another color. But for some reason, one of the levels just repeated the color. I don't know what color it was. I think like green was the first level, orange was the second, and then like red was the third and the fourth, and then blue was the fifth. Like, why? That used to bother me so much.
Is it bad that I'm trying to picture? Was it the iPod that I was just talking about that you were referring to?
I think so. The Nano.
I didn't even know that you could do games on there.
There were like 3, and I think you had to really go into settings. Like you had to dig.
Gotcha.
So that was fun.
I remember in high school putting games on my calculator, like the calculator that my high school required, which is like, I think it was called like the TI Inspire something magic numbers. I don't know. That was like that was the name of it. But it was a TI like Inspire CAXCS something. CASCX. I don't know.
Oh, so
I
you were
forget.
cool. I didn't.
Well, I wasn't cool because there was people in my class that like knew how to do it, so you had to just like plug it into your computer and like you downloaded these files. Cube Runner, which like was
Yes.
with this arrow and in a minefield of cubes, and you had to avoid the cubes. I think Snake was an option.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of other ones, but yeah,
We could do a whole episode talking about games. Honestly,
games
my mind's
on
going to
devices.
like Webkins games.
Yes.
Did you have a favorite Did you play Webkins?
I had Webkins.
Did you have a favorite game?
I don't remember all the names of them. I definitely did.
Or do you remember like
the polar bear game
that
with
was
the sledding
fun.
was definitely one that I liked.
I'm trying to think of some.
I had a Webkins
Did you play we have our first interruption of the episode. Who is it? Oh, they're definitely now they're not even gonna. Oh, I think it's my mom. Here she comes. It might be my sister. I don't know. Oh, it's my mom.
I didn't know you were with me.
Yeah, I told you I was recording. Welcome.
Shut your bedroom door. That's the reason I thought.
I was taking a nap. What is this? This is an unexpected visit. Should I read it out loud? I don't even know what it says. Funny how drinking 8 cups of water a day seems like it's impossible, but 8 beers and why? And 6 shots in 3 hours go down like I'm not reading this.
Who told you?
I'm not reading this. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Point of View. I'm Nick.
And I'm Justin.
And on today's episode, our topic is one that was requested by a listener: hookups and dating in college, most specifically in the age of dating apps. Justin, let's talk about things from our lack of experience. Anyways, I completely forget what I was saying. Oh, I think I was going to say I was a salve when it came to the smoothie game. And she'd be like, let's get ready for some smoothie moves.
Ah, yes.
I was so good at that. I literally would play. I think one day when I was homesick, I played that game and got my picture on the high score of the day, which was embarrassing in and of itself because I think I was like 14.
We all
that's
were.
how you win those. You have to be older than. But yeah.
Yes. So this is something funny. My brother and I used to share a room, right? And my mom, we'd always make fun of my mom because no matter what, she'd have us go to bed at 7, right? 7 on the dot. And in the summer, it was funny because it didn't get dark till like 8:30. So like, why are we going to bed and the sun's still out? She goes, shut up. You're going to bed. Just kidding.
Her weekly shout out.
Her weekly shout out. I know it has become a weekly thing. But so my brother and I we'd go to bed, air quotes, we'd go to bed at 7, and then we'd stay up just like talking to each other. You know how you're doing sleepovers? Well, my brother and I did that like nightly.
You guys like each other?
Yes, we do. Do you like your sister?
What was your story?
So we would stay up just talking to each other, and sometimes eventually we have my brother on, he can talk about this too, but I liked creating like made up games for like my little friend groups and like my siblings and all this stuff. And one of the games that we played in my bedroom when we were supposed to be sleeping was Webkinz bowling, but in real life. So we would take the little stuffed animals and we'd set up little bowling pins, and it was a little alley at the foot of our bed it wasn't an alley, but it was our bowling alley.
Mm-hmm.
There was a space that was long enough, and so we would basically take our little stuffed animal Webkinz and have this tennis ball, and we would have the Webkinz hold the ball, and we would make the Webkinz bowl, and we would make up these random scores, and we would bowl at night. And then we did real life Webkinz mini golf, which was really just miming and like grabbing our Webkinz and just kind of like swinging their bodies as if they were just I don't know, being yanked.
These Webkinz, weren't they just like, wasn't this just like mini golf? And like, but this makes sense. You used the Webkinz to play these games.
Yes, we just grabbed the Webkinz by the neck and kind of swung them around, and there was no club or no ball for the web things. We were just like, oh, we missed the hole. Oh, we got a hole in one. We just have random scores, but we bonded. It was fun. And then we had a system, of course, when we did this where if we thought we heard our parents coming, we had a red light, green light, yellow light system where it was because you know how you know the sounds of your own house?
Yes.
So like if we could tell that one of our parents was making a beeline for our bedroom, we would say red, and so we'd jump into our beds and pretend we were sleeping, and
leave the bowling stuff just on the ground.
Yes, and then we would say green when the coast was clear, and if we weren't sure if someone was coming, but it might have sounded that was a yellow. And you know, it worked sometimes when we were just talking and we heard it, but if we were, you know, playing bowling and we left the stuff all over the place, they totally could tell if they opened the door that we were up. But
that's really funny.
We thought we were smart. We were clever.
Intro from, I forget what your original intro, what you talked about was.
Do you lose things? Do you lose things to then my wired headphones that go to the old iPod, to the games on the iPod, to Webkinz, to now real life Webkinz games?
Wow. Track of time.
Conversation is fun on Point of View.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. I went and saw the Jonas Brothers Friday night.
Ah, yes.
It was good. Or they were good. It was my first time seeing a show at Fenway, so that was cool.
That's such a fun concert venue.
Yeah, it really was. It was better than I expected. Except I had a drunk person in front of me who was very loud, and each time like every I'd say 4 songs, the security guard would come over and be like, you have to stay in your aisle. He was like up on his seat at one point recording. He missed, I hate to break it to him, hopefully he's not listening to this, but he missed the Love Bug. He was trying to record it because I guess he liked that song, and he didn't hit the record button. So the whole time I'm watching him like just getting his life, holding the camera up, thinking he's recording, and then the song ended and he hit the button and then it started recording.
I saw Maroon 5 there a couple weeks ago, and someone did the exact same thing. Yeah. When Adam Levine took his shirt off, someone thought they were recording, but they were not, and then they pressed the button when they tried to end the recording and it started recording. That's just face palm.
Funny. Yep, face palm moment. Remember when we talked about Tom last weekend or last episode? That just brings me, when you said Adam Levine took his shirt off, it reminded me of the Super Bowl. Well, Tom and I were watching, and Adam took his shirt off, and Tom literally immediately goes, "Good night, Maroon 5," and walked out to bed. He was like, "I've seen enough."
Did we watch that Super Bowl together? I think I had a party in my room.
That was Shakira and J-Lo.
Oh.
That we watched.
Maybe together. You weren't there. Why weren't you at my party, Nick?
Yeah. Maybe you watched that one at a party in your room. I was with Tom and I think Santino, or maybe Rachel and Elizabeth. I'm not sure.
Sure.
But yeah. So that's how my weekend went.
That's fun. Who would you go to the concert with?
Oh, I'm really cool. My sister, my mom, and my dad.
Oh.
My dad did not want to be there. I enjoyed myself. My mom was like having the time of her life.
Yeah.
We actually all do like each other. But they also do things like interrupt the podcast. So
it's only natural.
Yes.
I'm surprised I haven't had any interruptions thus far. Well, my dog, I feel like at one point.
Yes.
And a squeaky chair in Baltimore.
Yes.
That was.
Yeah. Should we introduce the topic?
Yes, I feel like it's now an obligatory sentence to introduce the topic is should we introduce the topic?
Well, it's the same thing as like, do you want me to start? Which I was opening for the longest time. And it really, I wasn't expecting it to make the podcast. I thought it was just like, all right, I'm going to start. And then Dan would cut it there, but he leaves it in, which is really fun.
I found that in order to start the podcast, I or you just have to have a conversation starter. For instance, behind the scenes, my mindset was, okay, I want to talk about my headphones. Nick, have you lost anything? And then this episode, we just kind of started going. You have to have a conversation starter, like question or something to like address the other person, and then we can just go off. That's what I've learned. But yes, we sure can introduce the topic. Go ahead, you can do the honors.
Nick, hit yourself with that hard intro. Okay. So this topic was one I thought of. I didn't think of it actually. Someone wanted to hear us talk about dating in college and hookup culture and just going out, whether it be to bars, to clubs. There was a place in Baltimore called Power Plant, which was known for being like the place that everyone at Loyola went to, especially as freshmen and sophomores.
On Thursdays.
Yes, on Thursdays for Thirsty Thursday. It was the place that I was known for not going to in my friend group.
Me too.
Yeah, so that's shout out Power Plant. I did record a music video there once, which we can talk about later. You knew this. Oh no, you didn't know this. You weren't on campus that semester. We'll talk about that later. But
I was absent.
Yeah. So how do you want to open this conversation? Because it's like, hey, what are your thoughts on dating? Like what like how do you go there, you know?
Yeah. Well, I will just say that I am very old school with my thinking about dating and hooking up and all that stuff. And I think a lot of my friends are very similar to that. But I know that I might not necessarily be the majority opinion if you were to poll a college population, because I feel like colleges, when you're in college and college campuses, what is the scene? I feel like, and maybe this is no longer true, but I feel like it's a hookup culture. Would you agree?
Yes, 100%. I would say that, yeah. And I think that's perpetuated by, media and TV. You see it on TV, but that I would say is perpetuated by what actually happens at college. It's like a revolving cycle. Right. College, I believe a lot of people have this idea that they have to go into college. I've spoken to friends that are like, I feel like I'm not doing enough in college because I feel like I was supposed to be like, making out with people and getting drunk and having the time of my life. And college is said to be the best 4 years of your life. And honestly, if college was supposed to be the best 4 years of your life, then if college was the best 4 years of life, I feel sorry for you, because what are you saying? Your life is over? Like that's horrible.
I always say that
college without those things.
I always say that college is the best at most 3.5 years of your life, because I always think the freshman fall is just going to be terrible for everybody. And I think we talked about this in a prior episode, but if anyone thinks that they had a good freshman fall, I think you're lying to yourself, because it's awful for everybody. And if they're acting like it's not, and you're in that position now, people are just lying to themselves, because the transition is so hard. It's so hard.
You know who it was good for, though? I will say Humpty Dumpty. He had a great fall. I'm a
Humpty Dumpty.
Have you seen the
Oh, he had a great fall. Wow. Delayed. I got it. Wow.
I've been saying that to people all week. I've just been going up to them during busy moments. So I'll be like, hey, did you hear about my friend Mr. Dumpty? He had a great fall. And then they look at me with, death glares, or they find it funny. But yeah, not to get too far from what we were talking about. I agree. I think especially people think like, oh, college, like it's going to be so fun. And there are a lot of fun moments, but especially the first semester can be rough for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. I think what perpetuates things too is people come into college wanting to, sometimes, not everybody, but wanting to like having the opportunity to reinvent who you are, right? Because you're no longer living at home. Sometimes it's the first time you're living away from home or living away from your parents and family. And so you truly get to decide, and we've talked about this theme a little bit in prior episodes. You get to decide who you want to be, how you want to act. And oftentimes I feel like that comes, the way you act and the way that you make decisions comes from a preconceived notion about what college is supposed to be like, right? And like you said, in different forms of media, college is all about the frat parties or drinking and hooking up with people. And I know that from my experience, my freshman year, I felt like I was surrounded by that. Just because I don't know, I think I was just overwhelmed by it. I will say I didn't drink in high school. I know that is also something that I might be in the minority of, but I didn't. And then when it was just more normalized in college, I was just like, okay, I need to figure out what my opinion on drinking is, even though, most first years are not of age. People do drink in college and it's completely normalized. It's completely fine. I'm not condoning underage drinking, but at the same time, it's like it's normalized. I just want to like
you're being realistic about
for legal reasons. I'm not saying go drink and when if you're underage, but right. I'm being realistic. It happens in college and it's part of the life.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be. I will say that, like you
right.
mentioned, you can make that choice to not drink, and people are going to have their opinions, whatever. But in my case, in my experience, because I chose not to drink underage, my friends, for the most part, respected it. And for the most part, I got some like, oh, you don't want to just try it, but I didn't feel pressured into it ever.
Right.
And I think maybe that might have something to do with who I hung out with too, because I'm assuming if you went to a frat party, I didn't go to frat parties. We didn't have fraternities at Loyola, but I don't think that I would have had the exact same experience if I was there. I don't think people would have been like, no, that's cool. Do whatever, do you. Like, I don't think that's.
Sure. Going back to what we were saying about like hookup culture, I'll just speak from my experience. So I entered college with a girlfriend and we ended up, what did you say?
I don't think I ever knew that.
Yes. So I entered college with a girlfriend. We broke up October of my freshman fall. And I think that too was just like, okay, now I'm single, but also have to get over like my first heartbreak and all those things. But like I said, I'm very old fashioned and I'm not the type of person who's going to go to a bar and be like, first off, I don't think I have confidence in what they call your game, or I don't think I got game. So I don't think I could go to a bar and just be like, hey, and it would lead to something. Because one, that's not me. And two, I don't think I have the charisma for that. Maybe I do, but
you do.
I don't think that's just not me.
Person, but
well, thank you.
I'm not just. I think our friends would agree too. Honestly, like I think you were very smooth, but that's okay. Keep going.
I don't think that environment though. I don't think you have any idea. Like I get very like, that's just not my scene. So it's like, okay, I get very nervous or anxious. Like, how am I supposed to act? I get context clues from the people around me and try and just like act like them. Yeah. But I'm very uncomfortable with like, okay, like should I, even if like, I don't know, if someone, not that this has ever happened, but I can imagine that if I were at a bar and someone was coming on to me, I can imagine I would not be able to handle that in a very like good, not like a good smooth way. Like I feel like I would be like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like I just think that's just not my scene. And so when I say I'm very old fashioned, I'm someone who I like getting to know people I mean, on a deeper level, this is why we have a podcast and point of view and talking, having serious conversations and things. I don't think I'd be able to meet someone and then hook up with them, or I don't know, just hook up with a friend or something. Like that's just not something that I'm used to. Like there needs to be or that I'm comfortable with. There needs to be an established relationship before that can happen, at least for me.
Right.
And I don't know. What about you? Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna to further that conversation a little bit. The word hookup in general is very vague. Some people think of that as making up,
right?
Making up. Hookups are going out to going up to a friend that you had a falling out with, and just mending bridges. No, you can. Some people think hookups are making out. Some people think that it's full on sex. Some people think it's, and even the word is, and I'm not going to go into like specifics, but people have different definitions of what it is.
And you get into the whole like bases, like the bases of hooking up.
Oh my god, that's like
this first, second, third, and home. Like I was, not that I was taught this. I don't know how I learned these, but like I feel like everyone has different definitions for what the bases are too. Like for me, I learned it was the 4 F's: French, feel, finger.
Oh my god. Like holding hands,
right? Because they're the bases of hooking up. So the first base for hooking up would be French kissing, and then the second.
Friends. I really thought you were gonna say friends.
Friends.
This has been point of view.
Yeah, I'm really, really exposing my knowledge here of the hookup culture. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like French kissing, feel. I don't really know how to define that one. I guess people can figure that.
Your emotions.
Yeah, exactly. You French kiss, and then you can feel each other's emotions. I
didn't know where you were going with that.
Yeah, the third one, fingers. I don't really.
Fingers who do stuff together.
Yes. Can you tell I'm sweating right now?
Is it hot in here, or is it just
hot in here, or is it just us? I guess third would be the hand things and the mouse things, and then home is, I feel like that's a mutually agreed upon what home base is. I feel like.
Finally hug.
What do you say?
I said finally hug.
Yes, exactly. That's the 4th F. Yeah. Did you know what the basis? Wait, I'm curious what you thought.
I didn't realize that they were that explicit. I thought it was like,
well, they're not. That's just how
the bases I remember. First of all, I remember bases being like a middle school thing. So I remember being like hold hands, like kiss, and then I think one was like somewhat sexual, but I don't even remember what it was. But those are definitely a different bases. But let me tell you something about the bases with me. I did not run them. I'm not even joking. I'm saying this in a literal way, because when I played t-ball, my nana, who is like my favorite person in the world, she's since passed away. She died when I was a junior in college, so I knew you. And I think I hung out with you the day that it happened too. But
yep.
I was petrified to run the bases at t-ball. So she would run with me, air quotations on with me, but I would stand at home. Meanwhile, she was like in her slippers and like in her early 70s at the time, maybe late 60s, running the bases. And she's like, come on. And I'm like standing there, to the point that the coach was like, to my mom, we think it would be better if your mother didn't come to the game. That was the only way I'd participate. So quick story about me with the bases. That's
such a wholesome story, but I just, because of the topic that we're talking about, I'm thinking like running the bases is in like, where are you hooking up? Like where are you in the hookup stage? And you're like, my nana ran the bases with me.
No, I always go there when I hear bases of any kind, like
fair enough. My mind's in the gutter because of the topic that we're talking about, I guess.
No, I mean, understandably, we really shifted there to a content moment, but I hadn't heard of those. I mean, I'm not like naive to the fact that those are probably the real bases, but I also haven't heard like an adult be like, have you made it to second base yet? So like.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, adults don't talk about the bases. I feel
that's what I'm saying. So like.
It's just not a. Yeah.
Yeah. But you asked my take, and I started talking about My
Nana.
But I think that, so I agree with you in terms of like wanting to get to know someone. I think it's very hard to do that nowadays. Pandemic aside, honestly, I think it's hard to go into, it's hard to meet people romantically because I think the landscape is changing a little bit of how you do that. Like now we have dating apps. And if you think about it, dating apps, even I would say like 7 years ago, were considered like, it wasn't an app, but it was, oh, I met someone online. It's like, oh, you met them online. Like they were punchlines in TV shows, like in
Right.
our TV shows, like Spencer Shea in iCarly puts his dating profile on and all of the weird people he gets matched with. Just like that's always the case. That's the trope in TV shows. And it was considered dangerous. Like we were taught growing up, don't talk to strangers online. But now it's a thing. Like Tinder, more people have it that are our age than not, I feel like, which stinks. I will admit I have it and I hate it. This is what I mean by it's harder to meet people. Yeah, maybe in terms of like location, it's not because you can go on the app and you're all looking for the same thing. But I cannot form a like relationship with someone, and by relationship I just mean like a friendship even with someone that I'm with aiming for that to be the goal. So I can't get on the app and be like, oh, you're attractive. I want to have a relationship with you. Like you force it, I feel like,
Right.
when that's the case. And it just really like looks are a huge part of it anyways in our culture. Now add Tinder and um Bumble and Grinder, whatever you want to, whatever app that you Christian mingle, honest to God. Like
Farmers only.
what?
Farmers only.
Is that a thing?
You didn't know farmersonly.com is a thing?
No.
Oh my gosh. That's like a whole okay. Yes. Farmers only is like an app for, I don't know if it's for those who live in rural settings or if it's for actual farmers, but yeah, that is an app.
For you to meet your next ear of corn. I- wow, I didn't know that was the thing. But yeah,
They
I just
only have the cream of the crop on that app.
yeah, but you see the first thing you see is the person's picture. And you can be, we've talked about this, I think last episode, you can be anything you want online. So you can be a totally like perfected version of yourself, one that might not even accurately represent you. Um, and I just hate it. It's so like I can't do it. Even if the person like, and I've matched with people that are like that I find very attractive. I can't, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Some of them have actually listened to this show.
Really?
Yes.
Some of the people you've matched with?
I've promoted
Hi, Nick's matches.
Yeah. But and there are people like there's someone I'm even talking to right now and like I gel with them. It's just like I've told them it's very hard for me online to like I feel like I'm not dating this person. I'm not like dating like we're not anywhere close to that, but I feel like anytime I'm talking to someone online, I'm dating my phone.
You bring up a good point, and if I may, I kind of want to just strip the conversation down to like romantic relationship building, because I feel like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, did apps and online dating become a thing, and then the hookup culture started, or was, the romantic dating moving towards a hookup culture, and then online dating and dating apps became a thing? I feel like it has changed the process of how getting into a romantic relationship goes. I feel like how it used to be was you would meet someone somewhere in person, that maybe they were a friend, maybe they were a colleague, something like that. Then you would ask someone on a date, or I don't know what the difference between courting and dating is, but you would, you'd court someone back in the day.
That's how I see courting.
Is what?
I see it as an old, just it's dating for old people.
Dating for
Plentyoffish.com.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually an old person's dating website, but it's in the telephone music video. It's placed there, ad placement. It's funny.
That's funny. But yeah, like I feel like used to be dating, and then you were dating if you would go on dates, and then you were a couple if you decided to put a name on it, and then it was just that was that. I feel like now there are so many terms and so many different stages that I don't really even understand. Like first they're talking, and then if they've been talking for a while, they're a thing. And then if you've been a thing and you've gone on multiple dates, then I don't even think you're dating until you've labeled the relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend. Maybe dating comes before boyfriend and girlfriend, and then you're boyfriend and girlfriend, and then you're a couple.
In my mind, those are synonymous.
Dating
being boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah. Okay. So
or boyfriend and boyfriend, or girlfriend and girlfriend, or partners.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Right. Yes. So, but I don't know what if I were talking to someone, I don't know if I would be talking or if we would be a thing or if we would be dating. Like that's all very confusing to me. And then on the same end of that, I've talked about how I wouldn't be able to become physically intimate with someone until I had that kind of established relationship with them, or even just because I kind of like exclusivity, although everyone has their own things and more power to you. Like, I feel like I would need to be in a boyfriend girlfriend relationship before I get that. But now even it's like, okay, there, if you're a thing, you could be just hooking up, no exclusivity, maybe some exclusivity, and then the boyfriend girlfriend comes afterwards. While for me that's reversed. So I feel like the process of getting into romantic relationships has changed along with what you were saying, the apps and the websites and the getting to know people online.
Yeah, I think hookups were always a thing, honestly. Like even in our parents' generation, it just wasn't like texting. Like they didn't have phones.
Right.
I think, I don't know if we talked about this before on the show, but we're getting to that point, by the way, where we have enough episodes to be like, did we talk about this? I feel like the teacher that teaches the same class 5 times over, and then we're like, oh, we already talked about this.
At some point, we just have to not say that. Just go with it.
And it's just then they just become the people like, well, they already said this, but we feel bad for them. Let's just not say anything.
Then we can get voice messages saying, by the way.
Yeah. So, but when our parents were our age or a little bit younger, you had to call the house and be like,
right,
can I talk to so-and-so? And then that person, you would come down into your kitchen or whatever where the corded phone was, and anyone in the house could hear what you were saying.
Right.
Which is mortifying.
Right.
Imagine, that's horrible. I wouldn't date. I would be single. Oh, wait. Here I am. But that's a different, So, but I do think I think hookups were just more at parties, and it's in cars, which I think that's still the case, but you don't hear oh, I have this hookup tonight. Some people plan their hookups, which is interesting. It's oh, I'm going over this person's house.
It wasn't necessarily a culture. Hookups existed, but it wasn't necessarily a culture.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Because I wasn't there, but we hear about hookup culture now all the time. My personal opinion on it is again, more power to you if that's what you like, but I would prefer having a relationship with someone first, because I think it's, not cheesy, but more special when you're with somebody that you actually love, and that's hard to come by too, I think.
Yeah.
And
you just gave me a great segue. I don't know if you know what I'm about to talk about, but when you told me the topic of this episode, I brought up something that I learned about in high school. And this is called the dating assignment. Have I talked about you off air or anything?
No, I thought you were going to say the 4 Fs.
But no, we've covered that. I've just kind of calmed down from, oh my gosh, I just said that on air.
I can't wait to hear that. Honestly, I cannot wait to listen to that.
Okay, well, moving on from the 4 Fs as far as we can from the 4 Fs, for me sharing my knowledge of 4 Fs. There's a professor at Boston College, and she's a philosophy professor. Her name is Dr. Kerri Cronin, and she noticed, she's been teaching for a while at Boston College, at different universities, and she noticed that there was kind of an advent of the hookup culture, like when people would no longer be going on dates and they would just kind of be meeting people in different social settings and having hookup partners that way. And she decided to try this. I forget how many years ago, but she made a dating assignment part of her syllabus. So no matter what class you have with her, the dating assignment is in the syllabus somewhere during the semester. And I have it here, and I'm going to read a little bit of it. But there are different. What?
This is so interesting. I am so intrigued to hear what you're about to say.
So there was also a documentary made about her and this assignment, which I will share afterwards. But
how old is it?
The dating assignment?
Yeah.
It was like created when we were maybe in the middle school, high school. The documentary is more recent. The documentary came out when I was a freshman or sophomore in college. So the documentary is newer, but this is there are different steps to this assignment. And you have to follow each step. So anyway, it's step 1, planning and asking, step 2, the date, step 3, after the date. And so some things on the assignment say, your assignment is to go on an actual date, a real date, a date that would fall into a category of old-fashioned, if that helps you at all. Here are the rules. Step 1, planning and asking. You must ask someone out in person, not in a text message, Facebook, or IM. Arrange the date within 3 days of asking. Waiting longer creates unnecessary anxiety, invites drama, and sets the stage for unsolicited opinions and advice. This person must be someone who is a legitimate romantic interest, not just a friend. It does not have to be a person you've had a crush on for months or years. In fact, it probably shouldn't be that person, since that might be a bit intense. You must plan the date yourself. Do not leave it up to the other person. Do not go to a movie on a first date. A movie is at odds with the aims of a first date, which is to get to know the other person through conversation. Choose movies for a second or third date, but choose wisely. Beware of foreign films that might have explicit sex scenes that can make you or the other person feel very uncomfortable. You must be willing to report about the date back in class. This should not be a date with a person whom you've already dated. Tell no more than 3 or 4 people about the date. Having 83 people weighing in with opinions is disastrous. The date may be a daytime or nighttime date, but the date must occur before 10 p.m. A walk around the reservoir at midnight or later is not a date. It's sketchy, or it's the beginning of a hookup. So that's just the rules for step 1, planning and asking. But I think her doing this is trying to, I don't know if I've said this, but her goal was her students had been talking about, okay, it's becoming a hookup culture. I'm meeting people in a social setting and we're hooking up, but I'm feeling unfulfilled after this. And she thought that people no longer knew how to date. And so this was the assignment. She literally had to map out what a date is supposed to be like, how you should ask someone, how to basically have the most success. Do you have any initial reactions to that first part of the assignment?
Yeah, I hear invasion of privacy. No, I need this assignment. And I hear what? Like this. So I just have so many people. Like, what about people that aren't romantically interested in other people? What about how many success rate? Like, I would love to. I want this assignment, to be honest.
Yes, and I can share this when this episode releases. I can share it in the description too.
Yeah, I'm really interested.
If you don't mind, I would like to read a little bit more of it. So that's the planning and asking, which I feel like even some of the rules are kind of like, really, do you have to say that? But ask in person. I feel like that makes sense. I've never thought about the date has to be within 3 days of asking. Like, that makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, in real life, I don't know if it necessarily has to be that strict because, I don't know, opinions, sure, but I think that makes sense. I think it's funny to beware of foreign films that might have explicit sex scenes. It's kind of funny.
Foreign.
Right. Honestly, American films can have very
explicit sex scenes. Like,
So anyway, step 2, the date. The date should be a level 1 date. So she gives different levels of the dates in class, and the documentary. What do you say?
So the first step. No.
Yeah. So the documentary has the different levels too. But the date should be a level 1 date. It should be between 45 and 90 minutes long. It is important that the date be no longer than 90 minutes, even if it is going well, especially if it is going well. The date might be at an on-campus location, but an off-campus location is preferable. Keep it close to campus, though, so that the time limit observed, no long transportation time. You should pay for the date, no matter how vigorously the other person offers to pay and regardless of your instincts on traditional gender norms. The date must involve no alcohol. Going for coffee or lunch or just dessert is a good idea. There is too much at stake in long, intense dates like a romantic dinner downtown. There shall be no physical interaction during the date, with the possible exception of a friendly A-frame hug. If you don't know what an A-frame is, it's basically your hips are away from each other and you kind of both lean forward and hug each other around the shoulders, creating kind of like the triangle, like if someone was looking at you, like an A-frame.
I feel like if nothing happens, though, I feel like that might not lead to anything. I'm not saying you need to be like, I'll just say, I feel like if you don't do, like, you don't even have to kiss, but like if there's like no, if you're like making it a point not to have physical like touch of any kind, like interaction, I feel like they might pick up on that. Be like, oh, they don't, I don't know.
Well, let's continue here. It says, the date must involve only the two of you alone. No third wheels allowed, no double dates. Going on a date with another couple is in parentheses. Prior to the date, plan at least 3 or 4 questions about the other person and 1 or 2 topics so that if you hit a lull, you can go to those. Don't be afraid of lulls in the conversation, though. That's natural. During the date, try to make the conversation a two-way conversation. Interrogating the other person is just as bad as giving a monologue. Understand and give signals at the end of a date. Signaling that you would like to go out again might include saying things like, this was fun, maybe we can do it again next week. Or regarding paying the bill, I would like to get this, maybe you can get it next time. When someone says, this was fun, thanks, it means that they are not sure they want to go out again. Give them a chance to back out gracefully. So that's everything for step 2. I think what you said is valid. In today's world, I feel like a lot of people have ended a first date with maybe a kiss or a brush of the leg or
brush of the leg.
Like you know, just like if you and I are facing each other in like I don't know, like a coffee house and like 2 like armchairs or something, or it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, that could also be creepy, but like,
I feel like just the way it was
context.
Brush of the leg.
The context is appropriate.
Yes, of course, it would have to be appropriate, but a little bit of salmon. That's an inside joke. We're not going there right now. It's gonna stay inside.
Did you see what Dan wrote? But yeah, I feel like that makes sense. Like, I think what she's just trying to do is like, you know, she's doing like old school dating. So like, just not having, when you're going into a date, not having in mindset, okay, the goal is a kiss or the goal is something. I think hugging, I mean, she says no physical interaction with the possible exception of an A-frame hug. I'm going to start that over. With an A-frame hug. I feel like that's fair. I like hugging people. Like hug them when you start the date, hug them when you end the date, and then express your interest in continue or doing another date. Yeah. And then finally, this last part, step 3, after the date, it says, email the person within 48 hours of the date. I would say email or text. I don't know. Again, I don't know when this came out, but email or text the person within 48 hours of the date, thanking the person for going out with you. Keep the message very short. If you don't want to go out with the person again, sorry, I read that wrong. Keep the message very short if you don't want to go out with the person again. If you're open to another date, note that a second or third date does not mean you're necessarily open or committing to a relationship. Make the message a line or 2 longer, mentioning specifically what you enjoyed about the date. If a person doesn't seem to want to go out again, drop it and move on. Don't waste time pining. Without judgment about the date until you've had a chance to go back over the conversation the next day. Oh, not without. Sorry. Withhold. What did you say?
Recreational reading.
Recreational reading is also apparently something I don't do. Withhold judgment about the date until you've had a chance to go back over the conversation the next day or even 2 days later. Do not analyze the date with friends. Remember that going on a second date doesn't mean you really, really like that person. It might take several dates to know if you're really interested in moving toward a second level date or even toward a relationship. On the other hand, if you're still not sure by the third date, chances are you're not interested, and in fairness, you should not go out again. Know that the other person is free to do the same. The first few dates are about information gathering. Deal with rejection intelligently and responsibly. Pay attention to how your fears and desires are really at work in your feelings about refusing a date with someone or in getting a refusal. Know how to say no to a second or third date with grace and honesty, not brutal honesty though, respecting the dignity of yourself and the other person. Keep a refusal short and kind. Always give a refusal in person or on the phone, never in a voicemail message, text, email, or social media. Memorize these words. It has been really nice to get to know you, and I had a good time, but I think I just don't feel this clicking or heading in a romantic direction. End of story. No, really, don't say anymore. You'll just be digging yourself in beyond that point. And that's the end of the first page of the assignment.
That's only the first page?
Well, because there's others. Well, actually, that might be the whole thing. Yeah, that is the whole thing.
Okay, I was like, what is this? Is this her whole class? What does she teach?
Yeah. Again, she's a philosophy teacher. So, or professor. But yeah, I like this. I was told about it in high school in a class. I just think it's a really interesting thing that she's teaching her students how to go on dates. And I think even now, like even you and I have like, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like we're not used to those types of dates anymore. But I think that's what courting, or as you say, old people dates, like I feel like that's what it used to be.
Milady?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's a documentary that goes with that.
I want to watch that. I might genuinely watch it tonight.
Yeah.
Alongside the 60 Minutes interview with Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett. I'm so excited for that. Yeah, I'm genuinely excited. It's she talks about how their relationship, how she navigates their relationship now that he has pretty advanced Alzheimer's.
Oh, gotcha. That'll be interesting.
I'm excited. And also how he sings with Alzheimer's and what switches when he it looks really good, but beside the point. I think I want to watch this documentary too.
Yes. So anyway, I think it's interesting. I think the documentary does a really good job of kind of exemplifying what the assignment does for people. And in it, actually, they talk about, or one of her students talks about the experience. And he says, I got to know this person a lot better than if I just hooked up with them at a party. I feel like it was more meaningful. And I'll let the documentary do the explaining. But she finds that she gets a lot of success with this assignment.
In terms of like they go on more dates or they enter relationships or people just enjoy the assignment and give positive feedback?
In terms of getting positive feedback back, positive feedback and her students realizing that there's more to romantic relationships or creating romantic relationships than just a hookup culture, that there are other options.
I was going to say that so explicitly. I'm not going to.
Okay. All right.
I'll write it in the chat. Hold on.
Okay. Well, anyway, since a podcast is an audio and voice thing.
Yeah. Well, that's specifically why it's going in the chat.
Okay. Is there anything that you would like to add to this conversation that you haven't said already, or
I
that we
just
haven't
wish
talked
more
about?
people were interested in having this conversation, and I hope that there are, that we just don't talk about it a lot, because like I said at the beginning, this was a suggested topic from a listener when we asked for requests on what people want to hear, and we want to continue to hear what listeners want to hear, because we're here to like entertain and also have important conversations. I think something that we're really losing, not to be old man Nick, but like genuinely what I think we're losing is that ability to talk to people. And I think dating apps are honestly just horrible for self-confidence. I'm a part of it. Like, I'm not saying, oh, I don't use dating apps. Like, I do, but
And
just
I've used them in the past too.
yeah, they're just not, just like, oh, it's just rejection on surface level and just ghosting. And I know you can ghost in real life, and I've done, but like, honestly, I've done both. Like, I'm not kidding. I have been ghosted. I have ghosted. I
Right.
have been ghosted. That makes sense, right? Yeah, I have been ghosted, and I have also ghosted people. And it's just really perpetuates like looks being the main thing. And I buy into that, and it's like, oh, it's just, I hate it. I really don't like dating apps.
Yeah.
And it's just they move so quickly into like, oh, do you want to like, let's meet, like, oh, let's start Snapchatting, let's send explicit pictures, like, which is fun. Like, I don't mind any of that, honestly. I just mean like there's more to it than just that. And I feel like a lot of people that are on these apps aren't looking for relationships.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you tried, or not ever, have you tried? Have you ever pursued or met anyone in person that you've been interested in pursuing a romantic relationship with, or pursuing or dating, or
100%.
yeah?
Yes, 100%. And
What was
usually
that like?
say anything. What is that like? What did you say?
I said, what is like, what is it like? Like if you
It's
find
when
someone in
you
person?
actually have a crush on them. And to be honest, I can even form a crush of like someone that I follow online. But again, you feel like you get to know them in a sense where it's like you're not forcing it. It's not like oh, you and I are both, let's try and date. Like, let's try and like each other. That's not authentic. That doesn't just happen like that. Um, I think it's so much more authentic either in person or when you're just like a mutual, like when the goal isn't to date the person, when you just, know them from, social media, or ideally, know them in person. Cause, I mean, that can happen when you meet someone on social media. It's like, oh, like, I like talking to you. But again, I don't think that should be the goal of talking to people online. And I think that's one thing that Tinder and other apps get in the way of.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Um, I like my personal experience. I think I've never pursued a romantic relationship online. I've used the app,
I haven't either.
but I've swiped, but I've never like pursued anything. But um, I don't know. For me, I feel like being friends with someone first, or at least getting to know someone, and oftentimes the circles that you enter are, you have some sort of common ground already there, like some common ground other than just, okay, we're looking for a relationship, which I feel like is what's on the apps. Can you hear my dog barking?
Yeah. Go ahead.
We just talked about how I've never been interrupted, and now she's barking at my door.
Yeah.
Um,
Hi, Jazzy.
One moment. So sorry. Fill the space, Nick. She's now just chilling with me. Hi.
That was beautiful.
What are you doing?
Worked in our title of our episode into SpongeBob background music.
I don't know. I just think if you start pursuing a relationship, this is what I was saying. If you pursue a relationship in person, I find that it's easier because you're already occupying like similar spaces, and you might have some common ground already. You can kind of like jump off that point versus like if you're a complete stranger. But also too, like blind dates and stuff are things. So
that is scary in and of itself.
Well, I feel like usually you have mutual friends and you set people up if you're going to go on a blind date.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like some random necessarily. I mean, that's essentially what online dating is. If you decide to meet in person, it's like no mutual friends or anything, you know?
Yeah, that's true. But it just, I don't like it. Like I genuinely, I can't form a relation. Even if I find them attractive, it's like, what are we doing? Like we're forcing conversation right now.
Right.
It does not feel authentic to me.
Right.
And yet
I
I'm
also
still on the apps.
I also want to say too, as always, this is only our own point of view, and there is no right or wrong way to pursue a romantic relationship.
No, I mean if dating apps work
we're
for you,
just
I'm jealous.
so we're just talking from our own perspectives and opinions and experiences. But if the hookup culture works for you, that's awesome. If dating works for you, that's great. If you want to court someone, even better, you know? But yeah, this is just our own perspectives.
Yeah.
But
to be honest, I still don't know what courting means. I just thought it was like an old term. But should we all right, should we head out? Am I taking us home?
Go for it.
All right. My name's Nick.
I'm Justin.
What's your last name, Justin?
My last name is Dew.
So it is. You can reach us on Instagram and Facebook at Point of Dew Podcast, DOOPODCAST. That's all one word in parentheses. Or by sending us a voice message on our website, anchor.fm/pointofdew. If you enjoy our show, give us a rating or review in the Apple Podcast Store or share us with a friend or family member. Honestly, that's like the most helpful thing you can do for us, because if even like half of our listeners share with one friend, that does amazing things for our numbers. But as always, we hope you had a great week. Thank you for listening, and until next time, peach. Everything's going right, cheers me up, because time to say goodbye to myself in the past. Time to say goodbye. Time to say hi.